Alright, tonight we are putting the few amount of things together that need to be put together to finish up this Lone Star Grill. New 20 by 42 offset cooker. It is part of the brand new redesigned 20-inch line of offset cookers that Lone Star Grillz has just rolled out. The 20-inch series has a new shape, new design, and some new features to try and give you more cooking space while at the same time providing a consistent cook temperature that doesn't require tuning plates. Basically, those are the two biggest advantages from what I've heard. It's also a little bit lighter weight. It's made out of 3/16 steel instead of 1/4-inch steel in the cooking chamber. The firebox is still 1/4-inch steel, and it's plenty thick for whatever you're doing. So we'll get into all of that in this next video. Let's get started. As I said in the first video, the handle for the smoker is, if you order that option, by the way, you have to order that as an option. It doesn't come automatically. I think it's 25 bucks. If you order that, you can see it's welded to the stack. It is not welded to the smoker. So when the stack is not attached, as it is not inside shipping crate, you have no handle to work with. So just be aware of that when you receive your smoker. And the only other thing I wanted to show you in this segment is the table here, the 10-inch by 40-inch table, which is a really nice option. I highly recommend it. I couldn't really tell in the LSG videos how that's set up. It looked pretty easy. And as you can see here, you just have these slits on either end right there. And the back of the table just slides right down into those. I don't know if I can do it with one hand, but maybe if I set us up like this, move this 2x4 out of the way, you can see that it's very simple. Actually, it's better to grab it from the sides so that you can slide up, find where those plates are going to drop down into the slots, and then just set it in. A nice feature that it has, of course, is the built-in tool holders. One thing I will try to figure out is putting some sort of felt along here or along the leg of the smoker, because it does bang against there and I don't want that getting scratched up and rusting over time. I'll just be careful with it until I figure out exactly how I'm going to deal with that, but it should be pretty simple to just put something soft and non-abrasive on there to keep things. I do want to wrap up with a few things before dark. I actually made some interesting discoveries on this bad boy a few minutes ago while I was snooping around. Before I get to those though, let's just talk quickly about some of the things that Lone Star claims as far as specs on their website. The grates here, they claim, that this is a 20-inch cooker, and turns out that the grates are actually 20.5 inches deep. So hey, I'll give them credit. I'll round that to 21. Certainly deep enough to put a brisket on, and I'm just estimating you might be able to get 4 briskets across there. And then if you go up to the top, which is 15.5 inches deep, you would certainly be able to lay a brisket sideways and get 2 more up there. So you might be able to get 6 whole good sized packer briskets on this bad boy. You would certainly get 5. You definitely could get 2 on top. You definitely could get 3 down below, and maybe 4. So yep, the tape measures in Texas are exactly the same as the tape measures here that I have. So the cook chamber is, I mean, it's more cooking space than I've ever had before. Obviously, for some of you guys, that's not going to be true that have massive, epic cookers. But the biggest thing I've ever had before was a 16-inch pipe smoker that I believe was 40 inches long. And 16 inches just isn't big enough for an offset cooker. If you call Chris Goodlander at Lone Star Grillz, he'll explain to you very scientifically and accurately why 16 inches is not a big enough diameter for good offset cooking for airflow reasons. But for me, I was talking about for meat reasons. You can't. I couldn't put ribs in there long ways. I couldn't put brisket in there long ways, and that was super annoying. One question and concern that I had was the hinges. Um, these hinges with built-in stops, I was sort of wondering how beefy are those? Are those going to hold up? I did ask Chris Goodlander, the owner of Lone Star Grillz, about them, and he said they've never ever had a problem with one. They've never had one fail, and I can tell you just from the way that they feel when they stop this heavy lid, they do feel plenty beefy for the job. I think, I was wondering at one point, why isn't there a third one? But these two feel plenty beefy to do what they're intended to do. This grate right here is one of the main uh, perks or bonuses of buying this offset smoker. It's still a great smoker even if it didn't have this feature, but being able to use this as a griddle for hamburgers is going to be awesome for me, because lately all I've been wanting to do is smash burgers. I've been really into that, and this will work better for me than the setup that I currently have on my Weber, not only because this is much higher. This is a good, I am guessing, 8 inches higher than the 22.5-inch Weber grate, which for a guy my height is just too low. But it's also going to be easier to clean and maintain than my current setup. The nice little handle here is super helpful. As you can see, the steak grilling grate is right down below that, and this metal completely seals tightly around the flange there. There's no way smoke is escaping from there while you're smoking, and especially not with this closed. I will hopefully do a future video. I plan to do one doing an experiment. If when I'm smoking, one of my questions to Chris Goodlander when I ordered this was, can I actually grill on the flat top effectively while I'm smoking? Or will I have to get the smoker fire too hot to be good for smoking, or too cold for grilling? Can you really do both at the same time? Um, I'm gonna experiment on that. I'm guessing you can't really do both at the same time well, but I hope that I'm pleasantly surprised. Even if I'm not, I won't be disappointed, because I already don't think I will be able to do both well, so it's not like I'll be let down on that one. One last thing I want to point out on this cooker is related to the the whole baffle / no tuning plate thing that Lone Star is doing with this series of smokers. As many of you have wondered, what's the deal on the new system that Chris is talking about, where for this 20-inch model it has what he calls Crossflow technology. And if you saw the LSG video when he had the 5 thermometers, 2 on the top and 3 on the bottom, it was impressive how consistently that he was able to keep the temps. Now, the top zone on this is not intended to be the same temp as the bottom. This is 2-zone cooking. So when his temp gauge, which remember the temp gauge, the tell true is reading about right halfway between the grates. When it was reading 250, the upper grate was about 275 and the lower grate was about 225. The amazing thing was, from side to side, there was 5 degrees or less variation with no tuning plates. That is that's insane for an offset cooker. That is one of the reasons I wanted to buy this and experiment with it to see, can I get those same kind of results? Because if that's the case, that greatly reduces the complexity of offset smoking, which I had tremendous problems on my 16-inch barrel offset smoker. And again, if you want to call Chris and ask him why I had problems on that, he'll explain to you very scientifically why 16 inches doesn't work for really good offset cooking. Now I'm going to take this grate completely out because I want to show you. This was not clear to me in the video that Chris made. And so I want to show it to you guys because I think it will be new information to you as well. Now, if you remember in his video, you could see fire down through this little hole in the baffle area because he had his propane assist going and he had the grill heated up to 250. What wasn't clear to me is there's absolutely no opening right here. This is completely solid. There is no airflow coming through here, and there is, this is all solid up here behind. The only air that's allowed to come in, so I hope I can describe this to you because I cannot fit the camera back into these tight spaces. But there's a tiny, like 1 inch gap that allows the heat to come up from the firebox. What you see down in there right now is the expanded metal cooking grate down in the firebox. So you can see it's a very tiny 1 inch slit all the way across here that allows heat to come up, but there's also a tiny little 1 inch slit down here that allows a little bit of air to come down, presumably. My point is, this is not wide open like a lot of offset cookers. This is very controlled. There's a whole lot of steel and baffling going on here to prevent a lot of airflow, and I'm guessing they did a ton of experimenting with how wide to make this gap up top, how wide to make this gap down low. But one other really interesting thing about this that I can feel but you can't see is that the air has to come down before it comes into the chamber. There's how to explain this? There's a piece behind. There's the front piece that you can see, this metal that comes down right here. But then there's another piece of metal behind here that goes up. So it's like there's another strip of metal like this behind here. So the air is coming in at about this level from the firebox. And most of it's probably going up just because of physics, but a little bit of it is coming down through this gap right here. So the air isn't coming straight in from right here. It's coming in at about this level. Most of it, I'm guessing, is going up, and a little bit of it may be going down. But that circulating that Chris was describing, where it comes across, then after it does what I just described, it goes down because Lone Star is very careful about where they put their pipe. They put it down low where it should be on an offset. Most of it exits out, but some of it, Chris was saying, swirls back around. And I'm guessing that's all part of this unique design that wasn't, again, it wasn't clear to me on the LSG videos, but now that I've sort of felt around and looked back there, it's clear that this is not a typical offset technology, at least from what I've seen. Now, I admit, a lot of you guys out there know a whole lot more about smokers than I do, especially the guys that I've been talking to on the Brethren forum. I am low man on the totem pole. I admit that. You might see what I just described and be like, dude, that's not new and it's not that cool. But from what I've seen of a lot of other companies out there that I've watched offset videos as I've tried to make a decision on what to buy, I've never seen that like that before. But to me, that's unusual and new, and it certainly is different than the last offset smoker I had, which was still an expensive offset smoker. I think it retailed for $18.49, and I thought it was a very nice smoker until Chris explained to me why it didn't work well. That one was way more wide open down there, and it was much harder to control the cook chamber temps because it was allowing so much hot air in, and it was really hard not to burn things on this end. This video has been quite a bit longer than my goal. Again, is 10 minutes or less on my barbecue videos, but I'm hoping that that was worth it. I'm hoping that seeing that Crossflow and some of the other features on this grill made it worth your while. Next video, I will get into some questions that guys have had about this grill more specifically, and that's when I will do the grass test, because this video is already too long. So we're going to say see you later for tonight.